Hello everybody, welcome back to the Music Gauntlet channel. I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far, and today we are finally going to be closing out our series of lists talking about the top 10 worst albums of 2020. That moment that everybody's been waiting for, that moment that lets you purge out all the bad that was just building up throughout the entire year. And yeah, there's a decent amount of bad happening in 2020, and I ain't just talking music. Global pandemic, a death of beloved celebrity, social injustice happening left and right, you pick it, it showed up in 2020. And when it came to the music, well, really wasn't that bad, at least from what I heard. There were definitely a fair share of bad albums that I will get into on this list. However, it seemed like the worst offenders in 2020 were albums that just bored me more than anything. Despite some exceptions, I really did feel like for the most part we got quality music throughout last year. Yes, that does make this list harder to compose, but it also saves my ears from bleeding, so it's a decent payoff. You might notice that my favorite songs and favorite albums of 2020 that I just released are rankings out of 12, but this is only 10 because why we gotta torture ourselves more, you know? 2020 gave us enough of that. Usually people get a little revved up having to relive horrible album experiences, but pretty much every pick on this list I just look at and I have to laugh because it's so bad. The artist thought to release this to the public. They thought, oh yeah, this is a good representation of who I am and my body of work, and they put it out there and oh, all right, we'll get into it. But let's stop beating around the bush. I have my definitely not alcoholic drink beside me to help me through this horrible album ranking. So without further ado, let's kick off this list, starting with number 10. Has anybody seen a Curb meme about 6ix9ine sales yet? No? I'm gonna do it real quick.
I'm the hottest artist in the city, and I'm coming on here now, like, you know what I'm saying? So
you're not the hottest in the city, though.
In the city.
Nah, you're not hotter than Cardi B.
Nah, Cardi B doing her, you know what I'm saying? Cardi B is different. Shout out Cardi B. Cardi B, is in a relationship, you know what I'm saying, with more publicity. What she got? That Yellow song?
Yeah, number one record in the country.
One of the most dynamic and standout personalities of the entire rap game, and somehow he made this album boring as shit. If you watch my worst albums of 2018 video, you'll find that I put Day 69, one of his first albums, up on a higher placement due to the fact that that album was just straight up horrible. In fact, this album, Tattletales, wasn't even supposed to be on this list. It was fighting for its spot with ADHD by Joyner Lucas. But at least that album, ADHD, was somewhat memorable. As soon as this album had its moment, it was gone. Nobody even thought of 6ix9ine for the rest of the year. And the only reason I could list more than like 3 or 4 songs off of this album is because they each had their own failures, like the fact that Trolls was at number 1 but then dropped in the 30s within a week, and then I'm pretty sure it just fell off completely after that.
Did not tell you? I can't be stopped. Did not tell you? You can't blackball me. You can't. Listen,
Okay, that's my last one. This time around, with 6ix9ine snitching on the gang he was associated with and having no more credibility to his rap career whatsoever, the only high-profile artists that were willing to show up on this album are Akon and Nicki Minaj. And I said this in my review of the album, and I think it still holds a lot of merit. The fact that 6ix9ine has no other guest features to work off of and help pad out the album, it really works against it. Daniel Hernandez has nothing to talk about. He is nothing more than a gimmick. This album is only 36 minutes long, but somehow feels like it's an hour and a half. I'm pretty sure the only reason people listened to this album in the first place was because it had the hype of him being a snitch. But then afterwards we're like, oh, this album's pretty shit. I can't believe I just sat through all that. I personally did not think this album was horrible. I found some of the content to be okay and some of the beats to be okay. The content mainly dealing with his own personal struggles and being locked up, even though it was more like a woe is me scenario. But when he wasn't trying to guilt trip you with the fact that he has a family, he was just talking that straight up nonsense. What am I looking at right here? I'm not gonna read this anymore. I feel my brain shrinking. Just an extremely forgettable album. I think 6ix9ine would do better if he was a part of a heavy metal band due to his vocals. It ain't looking too good, Takashi. You might want to hit up Mario Judo sooner rather than later. And I guess all there is to say is good luck, Takashi. You're gonna need it. So when I review an album, I usually have a visual representation of what I'm talking about by pulling the album up on Spotify. And I went to Meghan Trainor's popular releases, and her single she did for the Peanuts soundtrack is more popular than the album that just dropped last year. boy. I mean, I kind of feel bad for her because this album was pushed back so many damn times even before the pandemic, and she wanted to have family members on this album, but the record label probably told her, no, we actually want to sell this thing. But pushback or no pushback, family members or no family members, this album is still generic as hell and boring as fuck. I guarantee you that if you asked her and she had to be completely honest if she thought All About That Bass was going to be as big of a single as it is, she would have said no. If somebody else was in this position, like let's say Ariana Grande, then I feel like the evolution of what they done past this song wouldn't have been hard to realize and would have came true very quickly. But it seems like everything that Meghan Trainor has done after this song has been kinda caca. From being part of the reason that the horrible phrase "Let's Marvin Gaye and Get It On" actually exists as a chorus, from ripping off Britney Spears for an entire album a decade too late, we're finally at Treat Myself, where it sounds like she doesn't even know what the hell she's doing here. It's like every song here I listen to it and it just sounds like she's like, my audience likes this kind of shit, so I'm gonna make it. Throughout the album, she can't decide if she wants to be this woman of imperfections or if she wants to be this glossy boss-ass bitch. These two tones collide like a horrible car crash. Like, how many times are you gonna try and make self-help anthems and then play them off like a brand new song? Like, what the f is Baby Girl? That is just a terrible song. You're ripping off yourself. How are you even doing that? It's just kind of sad. It sounds like Meghan has no idea the direction that she wants to go in, and the direction that she decides going in is just repetitive, ugly, boring. I wish the best for her. I don't want to see anybody's album get pushed back as much as this album got pushed back here. Like, holy shit. But I can't fight the fact that this is just an extremely mind-numbing pop record. But let's keep this list moving, going to number 8. Huh? What? Ugh, crap, I fell asleep listening to MGK's pop punk record again. I think the worst part about this album has to be the fact that he sees this as some kind of accomplishment in his career. Good job, MGK, you did it. You went #1 with a horribly bland album, wow. First album to ever do that. Have you guys ever met that kid in middle school that has the whole rock aesthetic going on and he's really into the music, so you're like, yeah, I buy it, and then as soon as he starts playing in front of you to show off his skills, it's the most generic shit ever? That's MGK. Ooh, he called the opening track title track. Oh, he's so edgy. This album isn't inherently bad. It's actually pretty comical the way that he's trying to pass this off as legitimate pop punk, when really it is the most stripped back, bare bones, childish ass music I think I've ever heard, like the very basics of the genre. Admittedly, pop punk is not one of my favorite genres of all time, but it doesn't take a mastermind to hear this album and realize that he's underperforming severely. But the reason this is working out for him so well is because he already has a pretty die-hard established fan base, and when he's making generic music that relates to teen emotions, they're gonna gobble that shit up. And of course, you know, he came up on the hip-hop genre. He can't not include some hip-hop instrumentals here and there, or some production elements, and those sound like trash. I guarantee you, if MGK came onto the scene with this album here, he didn't have an established fan base, it wouldn't even break the top 100. I get that one of the worst things you can do as an artist is to not evolve and remain stagnant. I can at least give him a sliver of credit for trying something different, but different isn't always good, as we've seen with our boy Kid Cudi and his pop punk record. And I'll say what I said back then about Kid Cudi's album as I will about this album. Spend more time with the genre you're inhabiting. If you spend more time with the music, you might actually get pretty good at it. Huh, kind of funny how that happens. If you're just recording and writing the first things that are coming to your mind, that's not a good sign. That's how you capture lightning in a bottle, yes, but when you listen to this album back, does it really sound like lightning in a bottle to you? I don't think so. So either switch up the music you're making now or make the music better, because the road you're on right now, it's not a very promising one. With all that being said, I think it's time we move on to number 7. We about to spend the dinero. We party to the extremo. What happened, man? Like, really, what happened? I'm not talking about the Fergie era when the Black Eyed Peas were basically like the sky. You couldn't escape it no matter where you went. Man, you really think about it, they were killing shit back then. I'm talking about just in 2018 when Fergie was no longer part of the group, or at least she might be in the future, but for this release, I'm talking about Masters of the Sun Volume 1, she was nowhere to be found. I'm sure everybody remembers that one hit song in 2017 called And can you imagine trying to capitalize off that hype 3 years after the song is popular? There is not a single good thing about this album. I'm serious. Like, Like, what were you thinking? What are you thinking making this kind of record? Like, this late and this shittily made? Like, really? The samples, terrible. Production, terrible. Lyrics, awful. My man saw fit to have Tyga rap over a flip on MC Hammer's Can't Touch This. What have we come to in this world? It's so forced, but it sounds like they were like, okay, yeah, this is gonna make us a lot of money, so okay, let's make this album, baby. I shouldn't be surprised. A lot of will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas material centers around being somewhat relevant if it comes at the sacrifice of quality. This wasn't trying something new and failing. This was copying and pasting the Black Eyed Peas formula over some Latin pop instrumentals and failing miserably. It almost shocks me that these features actually wanted to appear on this album, but they seem like features that would be easily swayed by cash. And with all that being said, I want to actually get this headache of an album out of my brain and get rid of it and never have to return to it ever again. So let's move on to number 6. All right, this is my shocking revelation about this project, okay? I don't get it at all. I know what the biggest complaint about the Kid Leroy's music is, and it's that he sounds too much like Juice WRLD. And to that I say, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, somebody was gonna have to fill that gap eventually, and the Kid Leroy was already kind of poppin' by the time Juice WRLD passed away. It's not about being an imitation. You can do that as long as you have some taste and class to it. It's the fact that this music, to me, sonically, sucks. Just remember, Kid Leroy stans, this is just my opinion. It's not just that he sounds like a generic trap crooner, it's that he can't sing at all. Like, this is it? This is your man's? This is who is surpassing Lil Baby and Lil Uzi on monthly listeners on Spotify? Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I'm so done. And I'm not saying somebody like Juice WRLD could carry the best tune either, but there is at least conviction. You at least believed that Juice WRLD was going through the shit he was singing about. When he was trying to convey being heartbroken, you genuinely felt like he was heartbroken. I think when Roddy Ricch said he's a 2020 presidential candidate, he meant carrying the torch of this kind of sound instead of letting people like Leroy just completely squander it. Just like Tickets to My Downfall, this album is extremely teen angst oriented, so that demographic is just going to eat this project up, which is fine. Everybody likes what they like. If you like hearing an adolescent boy being unable to carry a tune or convey any kind of emotion, then go ahead, by all means, give it a listen. But for me, it's a hard skip. Now let's go ahead and move on to number 5. No, I don't listen to country that often, but I heard through the woodwork that this album was exceptionally bad, and I had to hear it for myself. If somebody said they saw a flying pig, of course I'm gonna go check it out for myself, even if it's just a pig with cardboard stapled to its back. Ugh, and I mean, I've heard some bad albums that have been influenced by the likes of trap, considering how big of a genre it has become over the past decade. But this is up there, man. This is really up there with the greats, and by that I mean the worst. I'm sure there is a way to have these two genres collide and not have it be an ugly mess, but Sam Hunt does not know how to do that. There's nothing inherently bad about bro country, just like there's nothing inherently bad about any genre under the sun. If there is a single redeeming quality about Florida Georgia Line, it is that at the very least, they care. Despite how their music sounds like you're stepping on a dog's tail for 2.5 minutes, it still sounds like they have a heart made of country. Sam Hunt, on the other end, sounds like he doesn't give a single fuck about the album he's recording. And he had to do it too. He had to include his smash hit single, Body Like a Back Road, where he compares a girl's body to a broken down, twisted, beaten path that people rarely even take anymore. Real classy there, Hunt. It's the prime example of not caring how your album sounds by including the song, because if you squint at the concept for the song from a mile away, you're like, okay, there's something here. I can make that into a cool country song, until you realize when it's full focus, it's actually an insult. Just very irrelevant songs that if they were put in somebody else's hands probably could have been made into better songs, but the fact that Sam Hunt's lyrics are extremely shallow, he does nothing with these. There are moments when the production doesn't want to make me completely throw up, but it's covered by Sam Hunt having these arrogant and out-of-touch lyrics all over the album. Even from a more mainstream, accessible country sound, there is so much better music like this out there. It sounds like Sam Hunt just wanted to keep his name out there with relevancy, but didn't know the proper way to do it and just rode off of the hype he had into an album that was just a horrible representation of what the music he should be making sounds like. Never a fan of Sam Hunt. I can't say this album does anything to change my mind. However, I'm going to leave this country garbage pile behind and move on to number 4. And in conclusion, number 3. Nah, I'm only kidding. I would love to skip over this heaping pile of garbage entirely, but I think Justin needs a couple jabs thrown his way. This one's actually pretty ridiculous. This, hands down, the funniest part about this album has to be that it was rebranded as the new Justin, the edgier Justin, the more personal, deep Justin. This was going to be the best that Bieber has ever been his whole entire career, and it turns out he just sounds like a SoundCloud singer that barely has 100 subscribers. It's crazy to me. This is the adult quote-unquote Justin Bieber, and he's singing choruses like, "Girl, you got that yummy." Yeah, you know how the chorus goes. As labeled as one of the biggest comebacks in pop music history, Justin Bieber being absent in the sense of albums for so long, him coming back and releasing such a bland, average, boring, forgettable, trash album, it blows my mind. Like, where do you get off? Where do you get off saying, "Yo, Grammys, you need to put me in the R&B section. That's more my music, man. I'm not pop music." Well, you shouldn't even be in there in the first place. The Weeknd cleaned your ass. The Weeknd had such a bigger 2020 than you, and you were the bigger comeback story. You little shit. So sorry, that was a little much. For real, it's mostly just the Grammys. Ski Mask the Slump God was supposed to appear on the track Running Over instead of Lil Dicky, but I'm glad he turned that down or whatever the hell the reason was, because Lil Dicky is a way cornier fit for this project. And Christ almighty, if I have to hear Intentions one more time, can you play anything else on the radio, or does it have to be Intentions by Justin Bieber? Because I'm not convinced it can be. If you know somebody with a newborn that is having trouble with the child, maybe it's not being put to bed easily at night, then go ahead and just play them Changes by Justin Bieber. I guarantee you that baby is gonna be sound asleep by midnight. You wanna go on a date night? Who needs the babysitter? Just play this album on loop. That baby's not gonna wake up until you get back. I mean, the lyrics sound like they were written by a child, so that's a good sign, right? Ooh. All right, I'm done with the roast. Overall, it just sounds like Justin Bieber had no idea what the hell he wanted to do with this album. He thought maybe just that the fact that he's releasing new material can sell it, and to an extent it did, but in the end, nobody's gonna remember this album dropped into 2021, and people even forgot about it in the same year that it did drop. You know, I just hope that the singles and music that he released past this point is going to be better than this. Okay, it's enough of that. I think we're done here. Now it's time to move on to number 3. And in conclusion, I hate your friends and they hate me too. I'm through. Number 2. Okay, I'm kidding again, but do I really need a better reason than that? So a little bit back, right? Blackbear goes on a song with Tiny Meat Gang called Short King's Anthem. A rare moment when I was in the presence of Blackbear. He was in my eardrum, he was featured on this song, and he didn't annoy me. Wow. And I think it had to do with the fact that Tiny Meat Gang, the whole idea of them is just one big joke. The whole ideas of their songs are centered around humor so you can bop your head while also cracking a smile. But that's the difference between Noel and Cody Ko and Blackbear. If there was more of a humorous edge, a more self-aware edge to Blackbear's music, I might like it a little bit more. But he isn't self-aware and he isn't funny like ever on this album, and his lyrics are painfully dry. There's no substance to anything he's saying, but he's making his small worries, his rich people problems, sound like the biggest problems in the world. Like, you know, it is possible to entertain people with some good pop music and also have some good lyrics with substance to them. You know, it is a real thing, right, Blackbear? I would even say the lack of substance on this album makes it completely lifeless. There's nothing to grasp or hold on to, so you're just sitting there burning through 37 minutes of your life. This album made it so high on my list because I felt like it was a massive waste of my time. Like, I gained nothing from listening to this album, absolutely nothing. This album really can be summed up by the 3 tracks that come right after each other, mind you. I Feel Bad, I Feel Too Much, the number 2, and I Felt Bad. Wow, you're really trying to make people feel bad for you, huh there, Blackbear? It's just bad. It's just even down to the production, the hip-hop mixed with the pop music. I don't know what the hell he's trying to do, but he makes it so squeaky clean that it's vomit-inducing. I really just think Blackbear is a frat bro with a strong work ethic. It just has no impact to it and feels like it's meant to be filler music. And listen, I get why somebody would like Blackbear. I know people that like Blackbear. He makes extremely catchy choruses. If you're telling me you heard Hot Girl Bummer and didn't have that chorus stuck in your head at least a little while after hearing it, I know you're lying. But that almost makes it worse for me because it's like he's trying to cover up how bad the song actually is, but you can't put sprinkles on shit and expect it to look better. Just trying to make some popular music that suburban white kids are gonna gravitate towards. Very evident plainly by how often his songs are used on TikTok. And I think that's all I got. Bottom line is it's insulting because it wastes your time. It knows its purpose is to be for TikTok dance crazes and for parties when you're drunk and don't really care what music is playing anyways. So I take that back. Maybe he is slightly self-aware, but not enough to make good music. Sorry. But now it's time to move on to our last couple of slots, starting with number 2. All right, so get this, right? Okay. notorious white rapper GEazy, who's known for talking about how famous and wealthy he is, and that's pretty much it, made an album where he's singing. He freaking kills me because he's really going for it. He's really making you believe that he's now a hip-hop crooner, okay? You can add that to his resume. Trippie Redd, gonna move out the way. There is a new sheriff in town. Short little story time. When he released Free Porn and Cheap Drugs as a single, it showed up on my release radar on Spotify. And I was thinking, oh, okay, with a title like that, it's at least got a slap, right? But by the time it was over, I could not believe what I had just willingly done to myself. Oh, that hurts to listen to. Oh, I have to stop. Ow, ow, ow. It's the definition of you and your friends in middle school starting up a band and just dicking around in your dad's garage. All of it sounds like demos. All of it sounds like he has no idea what the hell he's doing to make a coherent song with this kind of style because it comes together like an ugly mess. Half the time I'm thinking, dude, somebody needs to check his pulse because he sounds like he's just dead over this track. If you can sit there and tell me you were entertained throughout the entire runtime of this album, then there is something clinically wrong with you. And then half the time he doesn't even sound like himself. He sounds like he's trying to be some other artist. I can't pinpoint it because it sounds like so many variations of so many other people. These opening lyrics to the song In the Middle.
I woke up, got out of bed today, looked at my phone, tried to find a text to say,
oh my, are you a robot that's just trying to make up love songs? I'm gonna put it to you this way. Nav put out 3 albums this year and still GEazy beat out all of them. I hate this album because GEazy thinks, you can tell by the conviction that he thinks he's pulling this off so well, when in reality it sounds like trite. Because this whole album screams ego. It screams, oh, they're doing that? I can do that too. I'm GEazy. I can do anything I want and make it sound good. Like, the one thing the kid Leroy has going for him is that he's a younger kid and he can kind of play off that childish, more adolescence type deal. GEazy, you are a full-grown adult man. You cannot pull off this sing-songy acoustic rock ballad type song. It's melodrama that's as bad as Blackbear, but the biggest offender here is that GEazy can't sing at all and he tries so desperately to do so. Nothing about this project works. All of it falls flat in its face. He tried to do something without putting in any effort to do so, and what we ended up with is a horrible mess. So with an album that doesn't put in any effort at all and sounds like absolute dog shit, how could anything be worse than this, you might be asking? Well, it takes a real doozy to pull that off. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, number 1.
God, what is that horrible stench?
Mom, you've come just in time. I've worked all night to bring you the greatest recipe ever. I call it Foof and Scoops.
Oh, well, your dish certainly shows a lot of initiative.
Okay, it's time to be serious. What the actual f***? Just, what a disgusting display. I never held Tory in the highest regards, but after this shit, I could care less about him. When I first covered this album, I was talking about it on my Gauntlet Roundup. I think it was the first one I ever did, and I was very hyper to get on its case. But despite being overly animated, there was some seriousness to what I was talking about, and that he was on a roll up until this point. Chicks Tape 5 was loved by a decent amount of people. That was in 2019. Then 2020 happened. He started his quarantine radio, really capitalized off the pandemic, which was fine. It was solid entertainment. He was on the What's Poppin' remix, which ended up being a Billboard Top 10 hit. He released his new Toronto 3 also in the summertime. There was a lot going for Tory Lanez, which is why I don't understand A, why you committed a crime like you did, we don't have to go into detail, and then B, why you recorded a whole ass album defending your name, which just made you look more guilty in the process. And let's get this straight, there were no facts presented on Daystar at all. It's all conspiracy theory, gossip, word of mouth, Tory Lanez just saying, oh, this couldn't have happened if this didn't happen, I couldn't have done this if this didn't happen, when it just makes you look more guilty. Can't you realize that? Like I said in the Gauntlet review, it's like I went out, stabbed somebody, then went in the booth and recorded an album about how I didn't stab somebody. Like, how fucking fishy is that? Yeah, notice how Meg got everything out she needed to say in one song, and it wasn't even completely all about Tory. And you would think I'd have more to say about this album being my #1 slot, but it really just comes down to Tory Lanez not owning up to his mistakes and being a huge about it. When in reality, he's less convincing than Tommy Wiseau in The Room.
I did not.
If you really didn't do it, Tory, then there would be an easy way to prove it. There would be easy legal means to prove that this was not your doing. But the spotlight's on me now. I can release a whole album and get stream money off that baby. What are you talking about? I got controversy on my side. But you could really learn a thing or two from number 10 on this list. That's gonna bite you in the ass. Just don't give Tory your time or money. It's not so bad that you need to hear it. It's so bad you should definitely skip it. Once again, I'll say it. Disgusting display. Tory Lanez, I don't know where you go from here, but I guess it can only go up. That is if people still want to support you after this. Unless somebody made an album that was somehow sleazier than this, I knew it was going to top my worst of 2020. So congratulations, Tory. You really f***ed up with this one. Thank you guys so much for making it all the way into the end. If you made it all the way until the end, you know I truly appreciate that. Finally, we are at the end of the 3 lists I wanted to make. I know it's almost February, but we did it. We got it done. From here on out, I'm going to be returning back to my normal content. There's even some other content I'm going to try my hand in, see how well it turns out, but we'll get to that point later. If you guys liked some of these albums, if you thought I should have ranked them higher, some I should have ranked lower, let me know in the comment section below, or you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, links in the description, and we can talk about it there. If you want to leave a like or subscribe, you know I'd truly appreciate that as well. And I'll see you in the next one.
Are you a trustworthy person, though? Can women trust you?
I'm very trustworthy. You can put your trust in me. The thing about it is, this is.
Liar, Tor.
I ain't gonna lie. That does sound like some lies. Right?